こんにちは皆さん。私、修二と妻のエイリーンのチャンネルにようこそ。
Flashback.
Pneumothorax. It has happened to me twice in a span of 5 years. And these were some of the reminders on the day before the surgery. All written in Japanese, but all I could remember reading was inevitable pain.
It's not what you would expect to see in an operating room. There's minimal blood and no open incision, just a surgical team, a patient, and a TV.
VATS surgery is a minimally invasive lung surgery approach that stands for video-assisted thoracoscopic surgery, meaning we use a scope or a camera through a port, usually about a 5mm port, that goes in between the ribs, and we can do the surgery.
This is a standard camera and video scope that we would use during thoracoscopic surgery. And once we place this inside of a patient's chest, we're able to then look up at the screen and see exactly what's going on inside of a patient. We can do less invasive surgery with causing less pain, less discomfort, with very good outcome.
The surgery lasted for about 2.5 hours. Then I woke up at the ICU with my husband telling me that everything turned out okay. And I was off from the drain tube and shifted to the nebulizer. 3 days later, the doctor had allowed me to go back home. However, 3 years later, I had to be brought back to the hospital for a needle aspiration of my pneumothorax. However, another year later, after my working day at the tourism college, I found myself in the hospital again. I just want to put emphasis on the fact that I tested negative for the dreaded coronavirus. From the 26th of June, I stayed in a private room all by myself, with only the hospital nurse, authorized staff, and the doctors coming into my room. Even my husband had to go through a strict routine checkup every time he came to visit me at the hospital. On the 3rd of July, my husband and I talked to Dr. Kushibe, the head respiratory surgeon of the hospital. He was the same doctor who did my video-assisted thoracoscopic surgery 5 years ago. That night before my surgery, I was not allowed to eat nor drink anything, with the exception of these. The OS1 jelly, an oral rehydration solution. The next day, 3.5 hours later, I woke up at the ICU again with the IV inserted at the back of my hand, and the vacuum suction machine still at my left. After the anesthesia has worn off, the pain level has exceeded this scale. 4 days later, I was finally allowed to go back home. 4 more days later was the scheduled removal of the knotless, barbed sutures. If you ask me how it felt like, I'll leave that to your imagination. I just wish I'll never have to go through this again.
End of flashback.
For a spontaneous pneumothorax, there is an increased risk for another collapsed lung in the future.
But I have not expected it to come so soon.
8 months later.
If no tension is present, the condition is easily treated by removal of the air, which re-expands the lung and returns lung function to normal after a few days.
Thirty minutes later.
However, the air leak was not resolved within 30 minutes, so the doctor sent me home with a drain tube and advised me to come back 4 days later for my next X-ray.
4 days later.
This X-ray came out better than the previous one, but the doctor decided to put me under observation and be back after another 4 days later.
And 6 hours later.
For what whatever reason, my right lung had suddenly collapsed quite a bit again. And the doctor advised me to be back 1 week later for another chest x-ray.
1 week later.
Well, I got the best news when the doctor said that my right lung is in a lot better shape than it was weeks before. Still, I have to be back again 2 weeks later for another round of x-ray. I'm hoping my lung is able to hold up and stay in good shape.
2 more weeks later.
このビデオを見てくれてありがとうございます。ぜひ YouTube チャンネルに登録お願いします。また新しい動画が見れるように通知ベルをクリックしておいてください。次のセッションでまたお会いしましょう。
If you enjoyed watching, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also, if you hit that bell button, which is right next to the subscribe button, you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter, all of the links down in the description box. Thank you guys so much for watching and hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Bye!